Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
There is breaking news in the NFL right now. Adam Schefter tweeting, as did others during Dennis Allen's availability today. Dennis Allen has told reporters he does not expect Michael Thomas to play again this season. Michael Thomas done for the year, apparently, with a dislocated toe. That apparently is the issue for Michael Thomas, which has kept him out. And man, oh man, that is a gigantic blow. So a couple things. And this news is just breaking here in the last 20 minutes. So I'm reacting a little bit on the fly. First thing, I'll look at it in an immediacy for this team. And for this team, it's kind of irrelevant. I don't want to overly minimize it, but we've talked about this enough, right? I mean, the Saints are averaging nearly 25 points a game. They certainly have gotten on a roll of late. The offense was really good against the Raiders. They scored 34 in a loss to Arizona. They scored 26 in the loss to Cincinnati. They scored 39 against Seattle. As I've said over and over, the offense isn't the problem. And at some point, you're going to get Jarvis Landry back, but your receivers have been pretty good. Chris Olave has certainly looked the part of a number one receiver, and instilling an awful lot of confidence in the Saints' decision to draft him where they did and to trade up to take him. It's interesting because when you look at receptions, after Olave at 37, it's Kamara at 33. So they have forced the ball to Alvin. Juwan Johnson's had a nice season. He's got 21 catches on the year. Juwan Johnson does. And Marquez Callaway's there. You've seen Rashid Shaheed develop. You're going to get Jarvis back at some point, hopefully sooner than later. Jarvis has only played in 4 games this year, but he had 15 catches in his 4 games. So I think in the immediacy, because you really haven't gotten much from Michael Thomas anyway, you're not really losing much. Does that make sense? Of course, we know the player Michael Thomas can be when he's healthy, but he's played in 3 games. He missed all of last season. He's played in 3 games this year. So, and he hasn't been out there. He wasn't out there against the Raiders and hasn't been out there here as the offense has improved. So in the immediacy, I'm not super concerned about it because you've been fine without him. Would you love to have him? Of course, but you don't. There's then there's the future. And, I know that the immediate reaction that a lot of you are going to have is cut him, trade him, all that sort of stuff. And I'll go over this again because those aren't realistic options. First of all, you can't trade Michael Thomas. I'll just start there. You can't trade him. Michael Thomas right now, next year, his cap hit is $28.2 million. 28.2. The dead cap number that the Saints would carry is $25.4 million. Remember, the Saints right now are $50 million over the salary cap and have only 36 players under contract for next year. You're not clearing cap space by adding $25 million in dead cap money next year. You have no relief. So you can't trade him because you're not going to carry that dead cap figure. And what team would want a guy that hasn't played in 3 years? He was hobbled during the 2020 season. He missed all of last year, and now he played 3 games this year. I mean, it's so massively unfortunate, but that's the reality you face. Nobody's going to trade for him because the contract's too big, and you can't cut him because you're not going to eat that dead cap figure. Your best path forward is to try again to get Michael Thomas healthy. As unfortunate as this injury is, it's just the reality of a player that's approaching 30 years old that can't stay healthy. And unfortunately, you gave him a monster contract, and he's just not playing to that contract. You gave him the big deal. He had the record-breaking season. You gave him the gigantic contract, and it was warranted. It was warranted. But now you're talking about a guy that's 29 years old. He'll be 30, in the next few months. And, he'll be 30 in March. And there's no reason to believe that this is going to get better with him being an injured player. So you just have to accept the fact that you're not going to get peak Michael Thomas ever again. And you may see glimpses of it in games. You may see flashes of it, but you're not going to see a 17-game sample of peak Michael Thomas again because he's an aging player whose body is failing him. And so you look now over the last 3 seasons, he's played in 10 games. He played in 7 games during 2020, missed all of last year, and then 3 games this year. So 10 games over 3 seasons. And then there's the context behind it. And I think when you start thinking about Michael Thomas's contract, which is, he signed a 5-year, $96.25 million contract with $60 million of it guaranteed. You start asking the question, is Michael Thomas's contract among the worst in the history of the NFL? And just do a quick Google search. I just Googled worst contracts in the history of the NFL. And there's some that pop up that are pretty obvious, and that I think this Michael Thomas contract will keep company with them. When Albert Hainsworth signed a 7-year, $100 million contract, he only played 2 years of that contract. And that was in 2009 when $100 million contracts weren't exactly commonplace. Certainly not for defensive linemen. Jared Goff got 4 years, $134 million from the Rams after they went to a Super Bowl and lost. Carson Wentz's deal in Philadelphia is one of the gold standards as well. 4 years, $128 million. The Colts ate $40 million, over $40 million. I'm sorry, not the Colts. The Eagles ate over $40 million in dead cap money to get out of that. They basically took a cap hit of in excess of $40 million just to have him not on their team. Nick Foles got 4 years, $88 million from Jacksonville. Percy Harvin's deal with the Seahawks back in 2013, my goodness, 6 years, $67 million. Some of these are receiver deals that you'll see. Some of them are rush ends. Michael Johnson with the Bucs back in 2014 got 5 years, $43 million. We can go on and on. There's a long list of bad contracts in the history of the NFL, and Michael Thomas, unfortunately, is going to join that dubious list of players that got broke off in a big way and never came close to playing to that contract. And the really unfortunate part for the Saints is they don't have a way out because of the way this contract is structured. So the path forward is get Michael Thomas healthy, try to get something out of him for the remainder of this contract until you can find it a palatable breaking point where you can move on and rebuild or build again without him. If you're just joining us, Michael Thomas, Dennis Allen says they do not expect him to play for the remainder of the season. He's a dislocated toe. Michael Thomas done for the year.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.